Okay, there are 3 attendees in the webinar. I don't believe you can't see them, but they can see and hear you currently, so.
Okay. Okay, very good then. It's 7:03 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Planning Board on February 10th to order. This meeting is being conducted via a webinar, which is a new approach that we're taking to meetings. So for folks that are attending tonight and wish to speak, please use the raise hand, and we will try to see you and recognize you. Meeting is being conducted via authorization from the governor allowing for these types of meetings to occur. So I will take a roll call vote. Jody Hsu.
Here.
Val Lynn.
Here.
Katie Williams.
Here.
And of course, I'm Carol Lisbon. We also have our town planner, Jasmine Farinacci, and our admin, Sue Hall, on tonight. So with that, we'll start with second meeting now of another new aspect to our meetings, and that is citizen comments. We allow up to 5 minutes at the beginning of a meeting for citizens to comment on anything that's not an agenda item, as we do allow folks to contribute to our meeting agenda items during the actual discussion. So is there anybody tonight that is interested in saying any remarks not related to the other agenda items this evening?
Not seeing any hands raised. We only have 3 attendees in currently, so.
Okay, very good then. In that case, we're going to go to our regularly scheduled business. The first item is site plan review for 78 Strawberry Hill for a pool, a cabana, and a garage. Some of you might remember that we had a site plan review for this several years ago. And there's been quite an awful lot of work done since then to revise the project. So I'll turn this over to Jasmine.
Okay, we actually have Rob Lawrence from Rob Lawrence Builders here with us. So I'm going to pull up the site plan and allow Rob to talk you through this. He did provide a narrative that was in the folder, but he'll just go over those changes as we go through the site plan. So it's just going to take a second to load because it's a little bit big, and then I'll have it up on the screen.
Okay, I also note that we now have Micheline on board as well. She's our warrant committee rep. Welcome tonight, Micheline.
Thanks, Karen.
Right. Mr. Lawrence, I've asked you to speak. Are you able to do so?
Looks like he's muted.
Yo, unmuted. How's that?
There you go.
There we are. Okay, let me just share the screen and then we'll be.
I have a blank screen. There we go. Can you hear me?
We certainly can.
Oh, very good. Very good. I'm Rob Lawrence, and I'm the general contractor, the builder for the Dagises at 78 Strawberry Hill Street. We took over the job. It's almost 2 years ago now. It was, mid-February, 2 years ago. At that time, the foundation was in place. All of the very rough site work had been done, rough driveway, and some of the steel was erected. And we took over. Chris and Chanel Dagis hired us. They wanted a residential builder, and we don't normally take over projects because it's just for a lot of reasons, but the Dagises have been wonderful people, and we've really enjoyed them very much. So I thought, Jasmine, we might just start with the whole site, looking at the mouth of the driveway, which is their plan prior to that. I know we've got the landscaping plan that has that, but you've loaded this, so we can stay with this. Off the top of the screen would be Strawberry Hill Street, and you can see the driveway. Maybe Jasmine, you could just well, there we go. There we go.
Can you see
Very
my
good.
cursor along the driveway? Yeah.
So this was an existing driveway long before from the previous developer, or actually the previous house that existed on this property back, I'm not sure, more than 10 years ago. The house was torn down, and Jeff and Vera's house to the left there, the lot to the left of the driveway, is where their house stands. Where your cursor is right now, whoop, yeah, right there, that's the neighbors, Jeff and Vera. They've been good sports about all the activity going on for so long. The driveway is quite steep as it comes up there, that sort of meandering driveway. And I think what we should probably do is go to there's no outbuildings shown in this drawing, but let's go to the next one. Well, while you're right there, there's a proposal for stone walls and gates down at the mouth of the driveway. So right here we have existing foundation. That is the house. The garage is the wing to the right that's attached. Well, there's a proposed outside garage. There we go. That is a garage there. And then opposite it, Jasmine, where you just pointed to, the proposed outbuilding garage. And then just slide to the left. Nope, too far. There's a greenhouse attached to the proposed garage. And after we go through the site, we'll look at these two outbuildings. That's the garage and greenhouse. And then if we move to the left, that would be the cabana or the pool house. Both these structures, both these outbuildings have changed very, very slightly in their dimensions and their location. And Norwood Engineering, as I wrote in my proposal here, discussed the pool, how much the pool has changed, and that's just go straight out towards the house from where you are now. Oh, in between the house and the garage is the pool, proposed pool right there. The pool is a little bit longer than it was first proposed, and that's because of the interest now in these very shallow ends where you can put chairs in the pool, and they're just in 6 or 10 inches of water or so. And that pushed the cabana a little bit further away from the house, but it's very, very minor, as was written by Norwood Engineering. And as far as the impervious area, that was the first question you asked me, Jasmine, when I first came in December, increased for all three of these structures by only 245 square feet. That was easily accommodated because the drainage structures, which you see looking a little bit like an egg crate to the right there on the top of the hillside, if you go to the right, there we go. Come down a little bit, and again, it looks like a waffle or a egg crate. There you go. That is the subsurface drainage system. I'm not talking about leaching field. This is purely for stormwater, and that was already, we made it 25% larger than was required because the structures, the concrete precast structures, came at a 4-foot height rather than a 3-foot height. 3-foot height would have been a custom-made structure, and so for no extra money, we got them 4 foot deep, which is at least 25% larger than was required. So the minor amount of impervious area, 245 square feet, that increase was easily accommodated. Now, maybe we should move to the other side of to the top of that drawing and look at the tennis court and sport court is really what they're thinking. Jasmine, if you could roll the screen down or roll up, I guess.
Site plan review.
I'm sorry?
This isn't part of the site plan review, the tennis court.
Oh, it's not part of it?
No, but it might be helpful for us to see the whole
No,
site.
just these, since you've been up here.
Just for everybody's information, the house is nearly complete. We have the main floor and the second floor about 90% finished right now. We're working in the basement because there's a almost fully finished basement, and that's just plastering has just begun in the basement. Exterior is complete, all except for the screen porch, which is on the lower left of the house. We haven't built the screens yet for that porch. Landscaping, there's quite a bit done in November with a lot of Norway spruces planted along the property line between Jeff and Vera's house and the driveway to this house. Do you want to point to the tennis court or this upper left corner?
Yeah, it's up here. So we pointed there earlier. I don't know if there's a lag. Yep.
There we go. Yeah, keep going further up on the drawing. We have all the drainage in place except where you're pointing right now. We don't have that water going into the drainage structures, which is another field just to the right of your pointer. It was installed 8 months ago, but we don't want to put water into it yet because it would all get silted and contaminated with dirt. So until the landscaping is further along, we haven't activated this drainage field. Very good. So that big white rectangle is the tennis court, and that is proposed. It may not happen immediately, but that's part of the landscaping plan ultimately. Very good. Are there any other features on the site where people have questions? We can look at the outbuilding elevations shortly. We can look at the landscaping plan, which would show lighting for the driveway, driveway gates. Is there an interest in any of those? I don't know whether to call them features or not, but.
So I have just a couple questions that sort of lead into your question, Rob.
Sure.
Was there anything done on the Strawberry Hill? I assume Strawberry Hill is a scenic road.
I don't recall. And the extension there.
Was there any work done in the front on any existing stone walls or anything? On the front perimeter on Strawberry Hill Road?
No, we did
Okay.
we just crossed the road. Eversource, unbeknownst to us, showed up and dug across the road after we'd wanted them to do it 6 months ago, and they showed up just 2 weeks ago to pick up the road. It's a one-lane road, and so neighbors had to wait for them to put steel plates across the trench for them to get out, to come down the road. Anyway, it was a bit of a fiasco, but That's our utility companies. So
So Carol, yes, Strawberry Hill is
Yes.
a scenic road.
Yeah, I was just looking it up as well.
So there's been no touching of stone walls. No, I can't think of any. Even where the street was crossed, I don't believe there's a stone wall there.
And there are no trees taken down?
There were trees taken down. This was at, we had a meeting with conservation with Mike Angieri, probably 12 months ago. And there were trees, Jasmine, at the mouth of the driveway. Could you, yes, you see the dark tree right there close to the pavement of the driveway, come into the, off the street a little bit. If you move the cursor right there, that tree was taken down, and there were a couple of other ones. This was at the request of Mike Angieri. Really was the one who said, you know, a big ladder truck, fire truck, could not make that sweep, that curve, that swing there. And so Janet Bowser and Mike all agreed that that tree should come down. There were a couple of other ones further in, but that's the one closest to the street.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like any kind of scenic road hearing is required or was required.
I don't remember that being brought up by anybody. And I don't know if the upper part of Strawberry Hill is part of that scenic road.
It is according to our list, so.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so notices were sent out to the abutters, is that correct?
Correct.
And do we have any of the abutters here tonight?
Give me a second, let me check the waiting room. I don't see anybody's hand raised. Can you see the attendees as panelists?
I can't.
No, okay.
So I'm going to assume that if there are no abutters here tonight, certainly given the length of time that this hillside has been worked on. And Rob, the implication from some of your comments is that you have worked with the abutters to address any concerns that they might have during construction. Is that correct?
I have tried. We've been communicating regularly, and I know that I talked to them before the hearing that was scheduled 2 weeks ago, and it sounded to me like they wanted to attend. This was Vera that I was talking to, but I don't. I haven't spoken to them probably in the last week and a half. I say spoken, but most of the time it's text messaging. It's
Okay.
been very important to me to communicate with them because they're the ones that are most impacted by this. But there's a lot of trucking and a lot of activity on Strawberry Hill, which is a very quiet street, which we have disrupted daily, and I understand that. There's one dump truck that's making so many trips that I think some of the neighbors are very tired of it.
I'm sure.
We want to be finished.
For many reasons, I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
What can neighbors see? I remember walking up there, you know, years ago when it was still construction had just begun and drainage was the huge issue, and sort of walked around the mud up there and everything else. So now that you have the buildings, the outbuildings planned, the ones that we're going to be looking at tonight, who can see those?
Nobody. I don't believe anybody can see them unless you're walking in hail trails and get off the trail and come close to the property. I will say that all along the driveway. If you're coming in, it would be the right side of the driveway. On the neighbor's side, Jeff and Vera's side, it's not here, but it is on the landscape plan which was submitted. It might take too long to load that, but we have planted between 40 and 50 Norway spruces to screen Jeff and Vera from the driveway, from the Dadgest driveway. These trees, most of them are 20 feet tall. Many were planted by a crane, and Bob Marzilli's company is the one that did it, and they were very well organized and just really, really pleased us, surprised us in November to be able to do it in the cold weather. And so now there's quite a natural screening with these spruces all the way along the driveway, right on the property line, very close to the property line.
How far up the driveway does it go?
It actually screens part of the proposed tennis court as well.
So it comes around the curve as well.
Oh, yes, right.
Perhaps we can take a look at some of the buildings, or if anybody has any questions, Val, Jody, Katie.
I'm just curious, Rob, were those trees added because there were issues with either runoff or was it for privacy only?
Privacy mostly. Runoff, that's a very good question, because we've had a devil of a time with the storms we had 18 months ago, 2 years ago when we started the job. Boy, the storms were just fierce as far as the quantity of rain that came in short periods of time. And we inherited a site that was practically devoid of trees and vegetation. So we had our hands full. And as I mentioned in my letter, Mike and Jerry was really quite instrumental in helping us resolve some of the water runoff issues. So mostly privacy, but certainly it helps a lot with to have anything that can absorb and reduce the water runoff.
So perhaps you could just show us the schematics of the outbuildings then?
Sure.
Okay. And the garage. Oops, sorry, give me just a sec. Okay. Oh no. You see? Oh no.
Oh, not yet.
Here we go.
There we go.
So this is the detached garage. The upper right is fronts facing the house, but as you could see from the original site or the initial site plan that we saw, this house completely screens this from view, especially from the street. On the right of it is an attached greenhouse, and then you got the different angles from the behind and from the left side and the right side. So it's in keeping with the house, the design of the house.
And is there a second story?
There's a second story, which we call the loft. It's not finished. It is just, they wanted the building tall, like not like the house, but they didn't want it to be just a low single-story building.
And is there plumbing in it?
There's going to be a toilet and sink on the first floor in the garage level. That's partly for the greenhouse, but also for anybody working on the place.
Okay,
And there'll be water in the greenhouse.
sure. Any questions, folks, on this building? Okay, how about the cabana?
Very good, Jasmine. There's one change on this, and that is that the stone chimney is not going to be built. And it wouldn't be seen from really anywhere, because again, this one especially is completely screened by the house from view. And so as we look at the upper right drawing there, that faces the house. It also faces the swimming pool. And the swimming pool is between the cabana and the house. It's a big open area. There is a bathroom in there for changing, and it's not even a kitchenette. It's just beverage area. And there will be a fireplace, a gas fireplace, on the rear side of the cabana, but it will not be a wood burning stone, real masonry chimney and fireplace.
Is there a shower in there?
There's a shower in there, yes. The upper left, the shed there, that is just pool equipment, pump, heater, and that type of thing for the swimming pool.
Any questions from planning board members on the cabana?
None, thank you.
Okay, so that covers the 3 buildings that we've been looking at. Are there any other questions about, yep,
Third, cabana and the garage with the greenhouse.
with the greenhouse? Yep,
Okay, you're counting that. Okay, got it.
all right. 2.5.
I may have said 3 earlier on, but it was really the third structure is the pool.
Is the
swimming
pool, yes.
Right,
Yep,
okay.
Yep. Any further questions to Rob on this?
I don't believe so. We have the lighting plan, I believe you said, Rob.
Yes. And we also included the lights that are on the outside of the house. So there is an architect's plan showing lights on the outside of the house. There are no floodlights. They're just lanterns on the house. I know everybody likes to call them sconces now, but I like to still stay with lanterns.
A little bit more New Englandy.
It is. It is.
And if that nothing has been designed that would spill over.
Well, the only thing I could think of would be lights on the tennis court. And because there are 4 lights planned eventually for the tennis court, 2 on one long side and 2 on the other side. The 2 that would be on the house side of the tennis court could spill over. And we've talked about it a number of times internally about how to control that. And if we had to, we would just have lights on the neighbor's side pointing towards the Dadgis house. So that would be a possibility. Any of the lights coming up the driveway, of which there are a number of them, would be blacked out or shielded on the neighbor's side so that they would only shine. Now I'm talking about as you drive up, they'd be on the right side, the neighbor's side. And so they could be have baffles so that the neighbors can't see them, but the lights would shine on the driveway. And those are traditional lanterns also. They're not contemporary lights.
So just so I'm clear, the new trees that were planted by Marzilli
Yes,
I'm looking at the construction docks. I'm looking at sort of I think, the neighbors on L12, and the trees are between the tennis court and the neighbor's house.
that is correct.
Right, okay, got it. Thank you.
So you also have trees between the driveway lights and the neighbor's house.
Right, that run up the driveway on the right.
Run up the driveway.
Right, okay, got it.
Is that correct, Rob?
That is correct. There were a couple of places closer down to the pond in the initial part of the driveway there, probably about 150 feet in from Strawberry Hill. There were a couple of areas where the trees were left out because they were going to be proposed to be planted on the neighbor's property. It's a steep slope coming down from their lawn, and Dan Gordon Associates, the landscape architect, knew all along that we wanted to get the neighbors' permission for this, but thought that it would be appropriate to fully screen everything. But Jeff and Vera said, we'd really like to have a view of the pond, maintain a view of the pond. And so therefore, those trees, some of them are PN and PA labeled on the landscape plans, were not planted. Because again, they were going to be on the neighbor's property, and they said, no, let's keep this clean. You keep all the trees on your property.
Okay.
Huh.
I
Sounds
know
like you,
there are a lot of pages to the landscaping plan. So Jasmine, it might take too long to load it right now, but anybody is welcome to take a look at it, and please give me a call if you have questions or concerns about it. It's
well,
quite-
our concern, our overview, if you will, of landscaping tends to be limited to the issue of screening.
Sure.
So it sounds as if you've been working with the neighbors to address that.
We've been trying to, yes.
Is the landscape plan baked into the construction docs? Is that what is that what
There's-
we're?
It was a separate
Separate
there's a
submittal,
separate document in the list in the folder.
right. Yeah, the
I see the trades. I just don't, sorry, I'm looking in the folder.
Jasmine, can you pull it up quickly?
I'm trying to, it's still loading.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me? Sorry.
Sorry, I just don't see that, but I think it's, I don't see it in the file, but I'm probably just missing it.
It's probably, Jody, if you just look for like the absolute biggest one, if by kilobytes, that's it. And if you look in the 78 Strawberry Hill folder.
Yeah, yep, got it. Oh, 496. Oh, it's like, oh no. Planning board application.
I wish I had divided it in two, but that's beyond my ability.
I've got it open. I'm just trying to find, do we know which page number?
Sure, I do. L-3.2.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have this up in just a second.
It's the one that's the most detailed.
Might
And
take a second.
it shows right from the mouth of the driveway up to the end of the tennis court. There we go.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking we were talking about. Okay, thanks, I had seen that. Yeah, that's part of the construction doc set, I think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
that like 14,000 kilobyte.
Okay.
And that's where you can see all those trees on the
Yeah,
right-hand
exactly.
side,
We're
looping
assuming
over
that's-
behind the tennis court.
And I'm assuming the pond is on the left side of the driveway. As
That
you
is correct,
on
yes.
the left, the dark thing. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So right opposite Jeff and Vera's house, if you can see the closest trees to their house. Well, first of all, they have planted already themselves inside their fence that row of a little bit smaller looking trees. I don't know, Jasmine, if you can point. There we go. Yes, those trees exist. They planted them during our construction. And if you look at the trees that were proposed just to the left of them, those are on their property. So those trees are not planted. And so that row right there, correct? And then as soon as we get up closer to the curve, right there, those trees are planted all the way around and up to the tennis court.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a lot of trees.
It's a lot of trees, and I think it's very effective. And yes, they're going to fill out even more, which will be good for everybody.
Are there any more questions for Rob before we have Jasmine go through the draft decision?
Nothing for me. Thank you, Rob.
I just have one question. On the page before this, Rob, there
Yes.
are some circles near the house. Are those the lights? It says PL. What's PL? It's
PL in the legend here. Wait a minute.
so Jasmine, I think if you go up one,
It's
wait.
frozen. I'm so sorry, Val.
okay, that's no problem. I know it's a huge file.
The common name is London Plane. This is new to me. London Plane is the common name for that plant.
Oh, those are plants. Okay. They looked different than the other plants. That's why I was asking. Okay.
So you said the page before, and I'm there now.
I've got it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's sheet L 2.2.
Mhm. Oh, 2.2?
No, I think this is the one. I think this is the
Okay.
one. And I was
Which
just
one's
wondering,
one?
like, there's
Yes.
there are darker circles. They look a little bit different than the other ones. So that's why I was just curious what those were. Yeah, exactly.
London Plane, which doesn't make any
Okay.
sense to me, but
Oh, okay. Sorry. I tried to zoom and I don't know what just happened.
Okay.
Lighting on the driveway, is that of interest? Or the gates?
The gates are not.
All right.
And we've sort of discussed the lighting, unless there are any more questions on the lighting. Nope.
Very good.
Okay, Jasmine, why don't you start walking us through the preliminary decision?
All right. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the owner, John Jackson, proposes to install a 1,435 square foot pool with landscaping and patio, a garage and greenhouse at 1,169 square feet, and a 710 square foot cabana. The pool will be installed at ground level. The property will look differently as it does currently due to the construction of the single family home and the accessory structures.
Wait, just stop for just a second.
Sure.
This is a general comment, though. It's also specific to this review. So John Jackson is the trustee,
Correct.
and the residents and the folks that are actually doing this are the DeJestes.
Yes.
And I think as a standard practice, we should, in situations like this, include their names somewhere in this approval decision.
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine, I don't know where you want to put it, but you know, when you go to 78 Strawberry, when you go to 78 Strawberry Hill after they move in, you're not going to see John Jackson. You're going to see the other folks. And as we've learned in the past, so many of Dover's properties are listed in trusts and so forth. So it's the trust that's the owner, so to speak. But I think
Carol,
nice to capture the names as well.
yeah, and I would say it's John Jackson, trustee of the 70.
Exactly. Yep.
Property Trust. I don't remember the exact name, but I saw it in the docs, whatever the
Yep.
official name of the owner is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was an LLC, if I remember correctly. Almost one, maybe not.
Or we could say, instead of saying the owner, because, well, the owner is not John Jackson, the owner is the trust.
Trust, exactly.
He's the trustee of the trust, so we have to
Right.
miss that, yeah.
So we don't need to take up time now, but let's get that updated before I sign, okay?
That's actually how you do it. You say John Jackson as trustee of the such and such trust, the owner. That's how you say it, not the trustee. You would say the owner as you had it before. The owner, John Jackson as trustee of the such and such trust.
Okay, great.
Okay,
The name of the trust is Trustees of 78 Strawberry Hill Street Realty Trust. But you've got that on the application that we filled out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Katie, it's a good question because how would you or would you include the name of the resident of the home?
right.
Well, I wouldn't, I mean, if you might know of other reasons that I don't know when this will become an issue, but an owner can contract anybody that wants to do it. So if they're the correct fee owner, they're
Yeah.
the applicant. They
Okay,
need to, so if they decide to hire the neighbor to come in and do it, or the person that's living in the, I mean,
right.
but
Right.
you might see a different reason that I don't know, understand what the problem is, but I think it's fine what you're putting in right now.
Yeah,
If
no, I understand, Kate, from a legal standpoint, I understand that. I just think it's nice to have somewhere in here the Dover residents.
No,
that
makes sense,
are involved,
makes sense.
outside of the legal issue that you explained.
No, that makes sense.
So I don't know where you can include that, but let's get it in somewhere.
Can you not see this document?
I can see that. I'm talking about getting the Jesse's names in
Right
there.
here, and applicant XX will add them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna put the name there. They're the applicant, right?
Okay. Okay,
Very good.
so on to section 2. So this says the application was for a full site plan review. This is titled preliminary site plan decision. We've addressed it as a preliminary, is that correct? Jasmine?
I believe so. I'm just checking the application to be certain. Yes.
I know you had a preliminary site plan review back and you have it stamped here, November 23rd, 2022. I thought this was a complete site plan review, and I don't know the terminology very well. Full site plan review application is what I filled out.
Okay, so we'll check on that. I'll keep this as full. This up here is full. To move on to the findings.
Yep.
Okay, the application complies with the dimensional requirements for a pool garage and cabana. The driveway is in an appropriate location. The parking is adequate to serve the use. The proposed accessory uses appear to be inclined with the neighborhood. It's unlikely they'll have a detrimental impact on surrounding premises. The structure is designed consistent with the character of the neighborhood and must be mitigated through Chapter 159, which he's done extensively with Mike Angieri. The proposed accessory uses will have impacts on natural resources and is subject to review of Chapter 159. The proposed structures do not impact town resources. The site layout is reasonable and agreeable in appearance, and the application complies with requirements of the zoning bylaws. And you have the draft conditions. Lighting must not spill over onto an adjoining property. Pool must be filled by a water truck, subject to review by the Board of Health in Chapter 159, as well as standard conditions prior to the issuance of a permit. Administrative approval can be done by the chair, and future modifications can be done by the planning board.
Okay, I just want to get back to this whole full and preliminary site plan review. Because I was looking at this relative to the warrant article for the 60-day preliminary site plan review. And full site plan reviews, if I'm reading our bylaw correctly, is by special permit.
No,
No,
that's not the same
It-
thing. Nope, it follows the
it just follows a special permit timeline.
same
Okay,
notification guidelines as a special permit.
and the timeline
No,
for
it's
just the
um,
notification.
no, it still follows its own timeline. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right, okay. Okay. So we now have a full site plan review approval decision. I'm going to, are there any further questions now that we've gone through this? Okay, just for completion's sake, this evening, it's Chris and Melissa, is that correct, Jesse? Rob, you know,
Chris and Chanel.
Chanel, okay,
And Chanel is spelled CHAN, single N, ELL.
okay. So that's on that front page there for your double X's. Okay, I'm going to read the motion then. After considering the application and other materials submitted at its meeting of February 10, 2025, the board approved the plans entitled Site Plan 78 Strawberry Hill Street with the following conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit, minor modifications to the site plan may be approved administratively by the planning board chair. 2, any future modifications to the site shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. 3, the lighting on the site must not spill over onto any adjoining property. 4, the pool must be filled by a water truck. 5, the site is subject to review by the Board of Health. And 6, the site is subject to stormwater chapter 159 review by the Department of Public Works. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, let's take a vote. Val,
Yes.
Jody? Carol, yes. And Kate doesn't have a vote. Okay, so I think, and we've changed that to reflect who's here tonight, correct? On the document?
Well, you've changed it to the trustee and the owners. Who's here tonight is the developer, but yes.
No, I mean the vote. At the end, it shows all five.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Have
All
a good
right.
evening.
Feel free to contact me with any questions.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Boy, he's a pleasure to work with.
He certainly is.
That's really nice. Seems like a really nice person.
Okay, Jasmine, I won't be back in town until next Tuesday, so there's time to get the decision ready.
Okay.
Okay, item 2B is review of the draft bylaw changes for the accessory dwelling units and the site plan review. I'll turn it over to Jasmine.
Okay, so we obviously we put in place the ADU bylaw prior to the state coming in and making amendments to the state law. So we had in our ADU bylaw that in a detached ADU required site special permit through the Zoning Board of Appeals. And the state has determined that the accessory dwelling units are allowed by right, and we can't use any type of restrictive permitting. So any type of permitting that can deny the use, such as a site plan, on an ADU, and we can't restrict who lives within them. So we have to amend our bylaw as it's been written, because we have to remove the the special permit aspect from the zoning board of appeals. Site plan review is allowed to remain because it's not a regulating permit. So you're not saying yes or no, you're reviewing the site. So we can go through this as was done. It was done by Anderson Krieger, not particularly by Nina herself. It was one of her colleagues that I don't recall her name immediately, but this was their recommendations. So we'll go through, the top of it isn't going to change, but we will have to update the use table because we do have it in there as a special permit for
So-
detached in there.
So we don't forget that at the top of the page where so it's to see if the town will vote to amend 185-43. We also have to amend chapter 185-10.32. Which is the table of use that shows detached garage, detached ADUs as special permit. So we'll just take that out, totally out. Okay,
Yes. So we'll add that table as well. So the first paragraph isn't going to change. It's just how we determine it's attached or detached. The
Yeah.
detached ADUs, obviously, we have to go through, remove. I'm sorry, what is it?
Sorry, just a quick question. Is there a reason we start on B? Is there an A, or is that the purpose, or?
I think that's the purpose. I've only given you what's been edited. So I'll add that in there, but or it could be the way that was labeled from Nina's email, but I'll relabel the ABC. So to reflect what's going to be existing.
well,
Or
what
what
we're
to reflect
gonna
what we're
wanna do
proposing.
is to have the bylaw that we present to be complete. Right, A through Z, whatever. And red line to show the differences.
Right, we won't be, whatever these are, we won't be changing any of these. So if it's not reflecting what is existing, I'll change it to reflect what is, but it's not going to be altered. Does that make sense?
Okay,
Yep. Yes.
okay.
Did everybody have a chance to review this by chance? Does anybody have any questions on this?
Well, I have a couple, but what's also been said is that the document that you're looking at, the red line version, was done by town council back in September. And the state's been working on the guidelines. So we have asked town council to, now that the state has finished with their guidelines, to take a look and make sure that there's nothing else that we need to change in our bylaw. And that email went out last week. So we're waiting to hear if there's anything else, right?
Correct. Based on my review, there won't be, but we'll leave that to Nina and Anderson Krieger to determine and get back to us.
So my question is, why is C2 not worded the same way as B2? Since they both discuss
we
plan
didn't-
review. Or standard of review.
That's the language that's existing. So we didn't change any of the existing language. So that's the language that was drafted and was accepted at town meeting of last year.
I understand that. But now that detached ADUs don't have to go through the special permit process, they're going to go through the same review process as an attached, right? There's no difference.
Right?
So if there's
So
no
we don't
difference,
have to separate them out.
then we don't have to separate them out, or if we do, at least the section about review should be the same, standard of review, right? It's just a question about how town council would prefer to show it, but it should be consistent. Between, right, B2 and C2. Because at this point, there's really no difference. So the only reason we have C is because we need a definition of detached.
Right, so now it's just ADU, period, right?
Or attached and detached, yeah.
ADUs, yeah.
The only other thing that I noticed, I believe, if you don't mind scrolling down just a little bit, Jasmine, to see. It was sorry, down to D probably.
D. I'm
D
sorry.
if you scroll
Okay.
down a little bit. Are you able to scroll down? I'm looking for D3.
Are you
Yeah, we have to add
Where's
detached.
D3?
D3.
That was up top, yeah. The Board
I'm
of
just
Health
looking-
review,
Yes.
and here's 3. Board
Okay,
of
sorry,
We're not seeing it.
the screen's
I don't
not
think we're
showing.
seeing that.
Anyway, it
You
must
might
just
be
You
frozen.
don't
We're not-
see it?
It's a little
Nope.
bit frozen. My point is on D3, for any renovations or new construction related to an attached ADU, the applicant shall obtain all required approvals. I think obviously we mean both.
We have to add detached, yep.
Mm.
All right, and also, I think that's the only thing, other thing I had.
I'm so curious that we're not allowed to say something about ingress and egress, for example, or any of this other stuff.
Yeah, if you look at the preliminary guidelines
Yeah.
that we received from Jeff Lacy back at the end of January,
Yeah.
it's all that work we did.
Yeah, so like,
You
fine.
did, all that work you did.
That was a good use of energy.
so like, so like D5 and D9, we
Yeah,
can't have any
all
of
of
that
it.
wording in there.
All of it.
No.
Right,
Wow. But we still can consider those in the site plan review process.
our normal site plan review.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you added detached to D3, Jasmine?
Yes, let me
Okay.
see if I can re-share it and
Okay.
see if that will
And you
help it.
know, it's just making me think a little bit for later, not today, and certainly down the road when if we do decide to tackle a larger overhaul of the site plan review bylaw.
Do you see this now? Reuse.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we may want to think about some of these elements and just make sure.
Oh, yes.
So we can hang on to this wording because a lot of work went into that. And if we can bake into our site plan review for accessory, like if we have, I don't know, maybe we'll do it.
Yep.
But
It's gonna be a big project for next year is that whole site plan review article. On D3, Jasmine, it's not apostrophe S, it's just S for ADUs. Okay. Okay, so we will, I think at this point, let's just wait and see what Anderson and Krieger comes back with. For a final.
Do you want to discuss about removing detached ADU or?
Well, I think you might follow up. I think was it Kristen that you had sent the email to?
Believe that's her name.
It may yes, it was Kristen Gagalis. So just email Christian with the questions that we had tonight, which was, do we need to have two different sections, B and D now, or can we just have one section as long as we also define detached?
Okay.
I know Nina has a view of a format of what these bylaws should look like. So let's let her decide how she wants to show that.
All right.
Any more questions on this draft?
have we identified who's going to be presenting this one at town meeting?
No, we have not. I was gonna go through all that a little bit later,
Great.
but given that there are only 3 of us or 4 of us tonight,
Looks like we get to nominate someone who's
I-
missing.
that's the way it works, right? Okay, then the other one is the site plan review. This is where we're moving on preliminary site plans, we're moving it from 30 days to 60 days before it's unconditional approval. That's a simple one. So I believe this has been sent to Nina as well.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry, the intent of this bylaw is to extend the time. Is it the intent of the change to the bylaw? Isn't that what we're talking about? Not the whole bylaw.
yes, just this one, just this one 30 days to 60 days.
Yeah, okay.
That's all.
Mhm.
Okay. That brings us to approval of the minutes. I'd like to get these done at this point. They've been on the agenda for 2 meetings now. I don't think, so let's pull up the January 6th minutes. We're gonna have to edit it live because I just received it at about 5 o'clock today.
Give me just a second.
Mhm. Okay,
Can you see that?
Yep.
Oh, God.
so this was all sent out with an update.
Jesus.
That may have been our most popular meeting. If we can scroll down to page 2.
I think you mean, effectively, right there
Hey.
where the,
Up,
Um,
I'm sorry, we're further to the, okay, right there, okay. Right, yep, no, that's it. So the second paragraph on page 2.
Okay.
respectively, I think
Yeah,
it's just,
reference 3 letters, one from Attorney John Doherty, forget the comma, dated January 6, 2025. Comma, take away the and after after 2025, 2 from abutters, take away the comma, dated December 9th and January 6th, respectfully, take out respectively and add and. And then change 1 from a capital O to a small o. And 1 email from property owners Tom and Christine here, dated, okay. Then when we scroll down to, we actually
Right,
take.
yeah. Right, sorry.
Anybody have
just-
somebody have somebody else? Jody?
Yeah, just in that, by stating that both, it says Ms. Farinacci addressed the concerns regarding setbacks by stating that both problems, are they considered problems or issues? I'm just not sure we want to refer to them as problems in the.
Is that better? Okay. Then when we get down to the vote. Ms. Lisbon made a motion, whoop, no, up a little bit. Ms. Lisbon made a motion. We've got that. Okay, then, seconded by Ms. Shu, the motion was approved by voice vote of 4-1 as follows. And then there really should be yeses next to the other ones that, other than Bill. Okay, then we go to 20 Haven Street. We have property owner Peter Highland was present as well as his attorney Vin O'Brien. This meeting is the continuation of November 4th, 2024. Ms. Farinacci referenced 2 emails regarding this application, : one dated November 4th, no comma, from Justine Pan-Uredham. The other one dated December 2nd, no comma, from the applicant Peter Highland. And then we need to add in all those emails we received within minutes or hours. So another sentence there after Peter Highland. It was also noted that emails dated 1/6/25 from Kyle McBurney, EY, comma, Justine Kent-Uredham, hyphen, AM. No R. Oh, yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, and Brian O'Connor. Had been received. Hours and minutes before the meeting. A concern regarding an easement on the left property, the left rear of the property, and not as to, and whether it will serve a purpose for this project was raised. Need to finish the sentence. Then on the next page, we've got racking and lifting. Runoff to conservation land behind the site was also discussed. And Ms. Farinacci stated, blah, 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 blah. And I think we could then go on to page, second to last page, whatever page that is. Yeah, keep going. More. Okay, on number 1. Ms. Lisbon questioned the implementation, not the coverage of, but the implementation of the on-call coverage. And then we go to the last page. Whoop, there we go. On easements, Ms. Farinaci updated the board on the progress of the town-owned easements to be accepted. The 2020 town. Ms. Farinaci arranged a date. Take out the is. For town, for public, on February 4th. And then B, building department suggestions for bylaw changes. The title should be for bylaw changes. And on C, 2 consultants have responded with quotes for consultation regarding planning board work on the MBTA Communities Act. And we should just get in the habit of never using just the word MBTA because it doesn't make any sense. And then 3B, Council on Aging. An informational session is scheduled on February 26th. For the Council on Aging to discuss proposed warrant articles and the MBTA Communities Act. Period. And with those edits, do we have a second for acceptance of the minutes of January 6th as amended?
Second.
All in favor, Val,
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
And Carol, yes. Okay. And then we have January 27th.
Everything's just freezing. Hold on, give me just a second.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, here we go. Can you see that?
Nope. What about now? Nope. There we go.
Okay.
So again, if you scroll down,
Am I going to?
keep going. Keep going. And going. Almost there. Keep going. Yeah, so see, so go up, see the recommendation conditions, that has to be removed. And then if you scroll back up, you've got the recommendation. Okay, so that's that. We removed this duplication. And on the last page, under C, if we could just appropriately spell our consultant.
Also just above it, right there, yeah. Just above in
Two
the,
places, yep. And I think we're set.
great.
So do I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 27th as amended?
Second?
Okay, Jody,
Yes,
Val,
Yes.
Carol, yes.
thank you.
Okay. Section 3 of the agenda, town planner updates. Jasmine.
Okay, so we've got, excuse me, while I share the screen, this draft memo to the Board of Selectmen and the Warrant Committee. Can you see it?
Yep.
Um, so this is just a request for us to withdraw the proposed tree bylaw warrant article, and that we'll put it on for the calendar year of 2026. So if the board agrees with this and this language, if you could just take a vote, and then we can sign and submit this to the Warrant Committee and the Board of Selectmen tomorrow.
Great. Could we just change the title to request to withdraw warrant article instead of remove? There we go. Just for a little education 101, once the warrant article is closed, which is in early January, you can't remove an article, it's there. But you can ask to withdraw it from consideration. So that's where I use the term withdraw instead of remove.
So they won't print it, correct, Carol? Or they do print it and
They
say
do
that it's
print
been
it, it's fixed, it's a fixed warrant article. Yeah,
okay.
that's why I wanted to change the wording.
Hmm.
And what you'll see in the blue book is something that the warrant committee uses, like the applicant has requested that this article be withdrawn or something like that.
Okay.
So you don't discuss it at town meeting, but it has to be published because the official legal document of the
Got it.
warrant closed in January. So,
Okay.
so do Val and her committee have been doing a tremendous amount of work, but this I think is probably would put you over the top.
Yeah.
Val, I think I'd like to say.
We are working on getting, finalizing a consultant to help us with this and plan to have a draft, probably by about mid-year. We're hoping by the end of June. And then, from there, it will be, up for discussion with the planning board to decide how to move forward with that.
Great.
Okay, so we'll just all take a vote. Val,
Yes.
Jody, and Carol. Okay, and we're down to 5.
Too,
Lucky number.
Lucky number.
too easy, too easy.
And
So the timeline for the annual town meeting?
Okay. This is,
can you see that?
There we go. So, you'll see as Jody does some updates on MBTA as well, that we're juggling 2 things right now from a timeline standpoint. We need to do all the things that get us to town meeting successfully. At the same time, we have an awful lot going on with a very specific timeline to get us to a September special town meeting for the MBTA. So I put this together to make sure that we know exactly what we have to do to get to town meeting, since that's the first thing, and then Jody will talk about the timeline for activities over the next quarter for MBTA. So other than some formatting issues, at our next meeting on the 24th, Jasmine is planning on having the draft slide decks for the 5 articles that we're going to present. And at that point, to Jody's question before, we'll assign planning board members to present these. Then we're meeting, Jasmine, Jody and I are meeting with the Council on Aging at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever it is, the morning of February 26th to present the articles briefly, and then spend most of the time on MBTA Communities Act. And that evening, the warrant committee has asked us to present the 5 articles to them as well. So that means by the end of the evening on the 26th, we'll have received some input from both the COA attendees as well as the warrant committee that might have us change some of the slides that we've looked at on the 24th. So at our March 3rd meeting, we will, if you
Carol,
could,
can I have
uh-huh,
a question? The warrant committee meeting on the 26th, that's just their meeting, right?
Yeah,
That's not
yep.
like an official thing. So that's
Right.
on Zoom.
Say it again?
Yes, that's on Zoom.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
that's on Zoom, yeah. Yep. So if we could just put, I don't know why it shows this, 1A should be 2, 2 should be 3, 1B should be 4. So by the March 3rd meeting, we should have enough input to tweak the deck as well in preparation for the March 17th open hearing. And
Do we also have the caucus meeting on here?
no, so the caucus, that's
No.
good. The caucus is March 10th.
We need to put that on there, yeah.
Yeah, so let's stick that on there too.
And that's at the townhouse, though.
That's live at the townhouse.
Oh,
So yeah, so just
And
one-
our purpose at the caucus is to announce and advocate for Katie to run for the full seat and for
Right.
Matt to run for associate.
right. So Katie, you have any questions? I know we discussed it a couple of weeks ago about the process.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I'm not even sure how to say it. I mean, I guess you advocate for it and then I have to officially run for it. I guess I just don't know what that means.
Right. So basically what happens is the event is meant to introduce people essentially who are running for boards or elected positions in town. And so Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, but first the planning board will be asked to stand up and talk about you, right, Carol?
Well, there's a step first. So what happens is that the meeting is run by Jim Rapetti, who's a town moderator. And Felicia will be there doing a lot of the legwork as well. So he has a list of all the open positions. So he'll go through the list and say, okay, planning board, there's an open position. Do we have any nominations? And then somebody has to step up and say, yes, I nominate Kate Williams. And then
Sorry.
And that would be, my understanding is that I'm going to the caucus. So
I'm out
that,
of time. I'm on a plane to Spain.
so Katie, that would be me. I would stand up. So if you could get me a bio, that would be super helpful. Because what I'll say is, we're so excited to nominate Katie. This is her fabulous background and why it's so relevant for the planning board. And also PS, she's already our associate member and she's learning a lot and all the good things. And then
she was already voted by the planning board and the board of selectmen after review of 3 candidates
yeah,
to take the associate.
then you'll
Then
be.
Kate, then
you
Kate,
have
you
anything
can
you want.
stand up and say something.
I
So
love
like-
Dover, the planning board's so important to me, all the good things. And it
And
would
we're
be
talking,
no
we're
more
talking 30, yeah, we're talking 30 to 60 seconds here.
And so this is in person at the town hall?
Yes, in the great
Around
room.
7 o'clock, everything's around 7 o'clock? Is that the time?
Yeah, it'll be on the town calendar. We could.
Okay.
check
And
it.
after Katie does her spiel, Carol, remind me, I know I've done this a few times. What happens then? Basically, Jim says, do we
Are
have
there
a
any, so then he'll ask let me step back for a second. For any open position, 2 people can be nominated at caucus. So somebody else might raise their, so Jim will say, is there anybody else who's interested? And somebody might stand up and say, I'm nominating Jane Smith. And as long as there are only 2 people being nominated at caucus, there's no vote at caucus. If after the second person gets nominated and Jim says, is there anybody else? And somebody says, yes, I nominate John Smith, then there are 3. Then there's actually a vote at caucus. And the top 2 vote getters get to be put on the town election ballot in May as caucus nominee.
Okay.
I can't remember the last time that's ever happened. Where we
So
had-
if no one stands up and it's just me, then what happens?
Then you're the caucus nominee.
No vote, no nothing. Okay.
Nothing exactly.
And if it's 2 that are nominated,
Nothing happens either.
Because then you would both be on the ballot in May.
so
Exactly.
then there would be a ballot is what I'm saying. Then there would be a ballot. If
Yeah,
it's
the
only-
town election ballot, which is always 2 weeks after town meeting.
Yeah.
The 3rd Monday of May is always town election. And that would be a ballot showing you and somebody else. And then, of course, if a
Or
third person-
nobody else. You might be uncontested, the only
or
name on the ballot.
uncontested. Right,
Either way, I'm gonna be on the ballot regardless.
Right. Exactly.
yes, right,
With or without someone.
right.
But
But just to confuse it a little bit further, if a third person wants to run and either didn't get the first or second vote at the caucus or didn't attend the caucus, they can always go through the process of getting 30+ signatures by the end of March and submitting their nomination papers to Felicia. So then
Then it
they
gets
would also-
really
they
exciting.
would also be on the town election ballot.
Okay, then it would get really exciting. Then we have to start getting like lawn signs. That's when it.
Oh, that kind, exactly.
Oh my God. Let's do one thing at a time.
That's right. Exactly.
If not urgent, obviously, but at some point, if you could just send me like a brief, even if it's bullet points of the things that you think are the most compelling for me to include. And of course, Carol, I will definitely include the part about the planning board having voted on Katie and the select board also having been.
Sure, no problem. I mean, I can just send you my bio.
Yeah,
Or
whatever
if
is easy.
If you want 3 bullets just to say, that's fine. too,
Oh,
whatever.
no, whatever you want, whatever is easy.
And Katie, I just would suggest out of courtesy and respect for the town clerk and the town moderator position, that you send them both just a quick email saying that it's your intent to come to caucus for nomination for the planning board spot.
Town clerk and, I'm sorry, who else?
Jim Repetti, our town moderator.
I can send you his email, Katie.
Okay, or I can look it up online, either one, town clerk and then the town moderator. Just send them a
Yep.
quick email whenever, letting them know that I plan
Yeah.
on being.
Yep.
And
I mean, no-
Carol and
yep.
Jasmine, are we gonna be having this conversation with Matt about the associate position?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Matt about this a couple of weeks ago as well. And I'll touch base with him after I get back from Canada and before I go to Spain.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind just copying me when you do,
Yeah.
that way he'll know to send me
Will
his
do.
bio.
Yep.
Thanks.
And Katie, it might, if you happen to be in Dover during town clerk hours, between now and March 10th, and just want to stop in, introduce yourself to Felicia, and she can go through the process with you again.
Okay. I think I have to bring in some license for my dogs anyway. That might be. a
There
good-
you go, perfect time. Okay, so let's get back to the town meeting timeline for a second. So, Jasmine, just let's put it in date order, please. So switch 3 and 4. And, there we go.
If you wouldn't mind on bullet 3, we'll present to the COA at 11 o'clock and the warrant committee at 7 o'clock, because I got confused by that. I didn't realize there was an evening meeting.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's, yeah, COA is 11 and warrant committee is at 6:45.
Do you happen to know if we're up fairly front on that one, Carol? By
Yes,
any
I think they start like at 6:30 or, yeah.
chance?
So the COA meeting is in the community room at the library.
Yeah, thank you. Committee 6:40.
So, as we did last time when we did the floodplain bylaw, we will send a notice to the floodplain property owners. Once we get the map and we know who's affected by that. And then Jody will spearhead the planning board's offerings at the open hearing on the 17th.
Can we talk about that too? Because I've for the ADU. But are you saying that I will present all of them? Or are
So
we
that, yeah, so if you go back up to the February 24th
Yeah,
thing,
we'll
it's assign a planning board member to each.
Yeah, so those people will do it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So when
Yeah.
you say I'm gonna spearhead it, exactly what do you mean?
Or just make sure that everybody's there.
Oh. Okay.
We'll
Gotcha.
need to make sure, usually the warrant committee asks for slide decks and stuff first. So Jasmine will have
Okay.
to work with that to make sure that we know exactly how they're gonna, conduct the meeting, what they want from us. We could ask
Okay.
them that on the 26th as well when we.
Okay, perfect.
And the open hearing is always in person, correct?
Yes. Yes, I believe they went back to open hearing in person.
Mhm.
I think it was Zoom during COVID.
Last year, yeah, I
The
think
last year was it's always school vacation
in
time.
person.
I'm
It was
very
in-
not, yeah, it was in person last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just taking a look at the calendar and see what it looks like for,
Jasmine, would it be possible for some of these meetings to just note if it is over Zoom or in person?
the open hearing starts at 7:30 on the 17th in the Great Hall. So let's highlight 317 or stick it in the front of what should be now number 7.
Yeah, I think our numbering might just be a tiny bit.
Yep. And I think once we get this done tonight, if you could send this out as a new document to everybody,
Okay.
okay? So 317 is now number 7, not number 4.
Hmm.
Then the whole thing has to get reformatted, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got 5 and 6 and yeah, whatever. So so like we did last year, we need on 414, we will need our it'll be a public hearing.
You mean 417?
414. Do I have the wrong date for our meeting?
Oh, no, sorry, I was looking at number 10, sorry.
Okay, yeah. So we have our regular planning board meeting on the 14th of April, and that's when we'll do the public hearings. Jazz, we don't have to do a public hearing for easements, right? It's just the 4 articles,
Not for
just the
easements.
4 bylaws,
Correct.
right? Okay. And the April 17th deadline, that's just a process where by that point, we will have worked with Nina to make sure that the bylaws drafts are correct and that the wording of the motions are what we all agree to. And that's it for town meeting.
That's it.
That's all. Jasmine will be presenting, I think, on the when she reviews the slide decks with us in at the next meeting on February 24th. You know, that's where all we'll use the same format as we did with the slides last year, the
Mhm.
design. And she'll have the pros and cons that we could also look at as well, relative to how we want to present it.
Jody, you'll be there, right, on that one you said now? If not, I'll send you the slide decks ahead.
I'm sorry, which meeting?
I'm so sorry,
224?
the 24th, you're able to attend.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. Thank you.
And everybody is, right? Bill
I
said
think
he
Bill
was just
said he
out
was
for
going to,
today,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's always worth reconfirming, but I think,
Oh, yes, yes.
yeah. So the next item on the agenda is 3C is review planning board questions for the EOHLC for their open listening sessions. This was, Jasmine, did you get any questions from anybody?
Well, Jody did actually, and she has them all. Let me open it up. It's in our MBTA project plan. She created a sheet within there, if it will open, that has everybody's comments. So she's got some of them we have answers to. Some of them are Nina questions, but some of them, sorry, it's opening so slowly.
While it's opening, just so I'm understanding this, what we've tried to capture in, you'll see very, very raw form, is how you all responded to us. The question, which was, do you have questions about the MBTA Communities Act? And you definitely did, which is awesome because I have a ton of questions too. But it's helpful because we're going to either be able to tick through them ourselves or get some answers where we don't know them. And that's what you're seeing, but you'll see it's really raw. Like Katie, there's your questions you can see. And we're trying to answer them to the extent that we can. But Jasmine, I think you were asking because you have an opportunity to schedule time. Is that what it is with EOHLC? Or am I making that up?
We have, yes, they have given us two, not just me, it's open to anybody, so it's open to you guys could go. But they have two open sessions, pretty much like we're doing with the public. They're doing it with us, that we're having this open. You can come and ask any questions that you'd like. They didn't limit us particularly to how many questions, but I think it would be smart if we came with a set prepared number of questions, because there's going to be a lot of municipalities there. So I'm hoping that someone else will ask our question to get it answered. But also maybe just have like, these are the top 3 that we absolutely need answers to. And then the rest we can sort of work out with town council or reach out to the second listening session. We can also email them all of our questions. So if we don't get them answered at that session, they still have this email open, kind of like open office hours to answer questions. So you don't have to get them all answered at that meeting.
Yeah, right.
But I think it would be very beneficial if anybody has the time to attend, because you may also hear other things that you weren't thinking of from other communities.
Are they
And
all
while I'll
small
do my
adjacent?
best to capture that. What is it?
Are they all small adjacent towns?
Yes, we're all what's left of what
Okay,
needs to
great.
be
Just the
done.
ones that are left.
And anybody else who didn't pass
Got
as
it.
well.
Can you remind me,
Yeah.
Jasmine, did you send these out as a calendar invite for us, the dates that we have options to attend, or no? Or was it
No,
just-
I just sent the email, but I can
Yeah, that'd be
send it as a
great.
calendar invite.
Yeah.
If you could, and then I'll be able to, it would be great. I mean, I can go find it, but that would be super helpful.
I mean, I imagine that we're gonna hear questions that we're gonna go, gee, why didn't we think of that? That's a great question.
Yeah, exactly.
I would think so. I'm hoping they're going to record it, but I don't recall anything about that in the email.
Great.
Was there a Zoom link in the email? I don't remember. I just remember seeing the dates.
Yes, there's two separate Zoom links in the email from EOHLC
Okay.
to attend their listening sessions, but also,
Yeah.
like I said, we can reach out, at any time.
Because I think the next one is February 8th, right?
Okay, February, oh yeah, I can't do it, so, okay, that'd be great. Oh,
But we could also
we have
schedule
some
someone
more-
from,
got it.
we could schedule someone from the EOHLC to come to a planning board meeting as well. If that's better.
Well, why don't we wait and see what kind of questions we get from the warrant committee, from the COA,
Yeah.
from these two events as well, and then see where we are. It's a great option that we shouldn't lose track of.
Right.
Thank you for bringing that up again, Jasmine. But let's see how we go with all that first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are able, I'm adding these, so you don't have to, I can't go on the 18th, but I will be trying with the others.
What time is the 18th? I'm sorry, I know you sent it.
On Tuesday, February 18th.
What time did you say? I'm sorry, I was talking when you were talking.
Yeah, 3:00 p.m.
Yeah, I have a 3 o'clock meeting on the 18th. But if there's other ones, and like I said, I mean, if they record it, it would be great to hear what other people ask. My questions aren't questions for them to answer. I think my questions are being answered is because someone's working on determining the grants that we have received, the amounts that have been received, because I'm sure someone's gonna say, well, what's the cost if we just don't comply?
Yeah, we do have a good, we do have a pretty good summary of that now. And one of the things we're planning to do, Katie, I'm just forwarding this to you because,
Okay,
those dates. One of the things we're planning to do is to build that into our slide deck somehow, because it's like, it's such a definite absolute. We
I'm
have
sure that's gonna be the first thing someone's gonna say.
Yeah, totally. And
Why?
I've been always thinking about Dave Haviland, who's now on the select board, but saying we have 14 million reasons to get this passed.
Yes, exactly.
It's like very motivating for me as we think about the next few months. That's how I'm thinking about it. And I think our slide can literally possibly say something.
Sort of makes it very simple.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to the fact, my understanding is that it's not that the state's position now has gotten so much more strict that it's not only a case of the grant funding. It is illegal for you not to have.
Right, then
Right.
because then we would incur additional expenses of hiring counsel to represent us
Exactly.
while we're being sued.
Yep.
Additionally, I went to a town hall that Jake Auchincloss hosted in Needham, I don't know, sometime before the holidays. And he said that his office will not support federal grant applications for municipalities that are not in compliance.
Well, there you go. Not that there's probably a lot of federal money coming to Massachusetts in 2024.
Still, it sounds good. We're like, oh darn, now we're really not going to get it. Anyway.
Okay, anything else then, Jody or Jasmine, on MBTA Communities Act?
No, I'll send those out as calendar invites.
Okay,
And just with the note caveat that, you don't have to, but it'd be helpful to attend if you can.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Jody, do you want to talk a little bit about the calendar?
Yeah, I would love to just ask the opinion of this group. As we just went through, we have the COA where we have an opportunity to sort of get started with our little dog and pony show on selling this in and getting feedback, really, hearing what people are worried about or excited about or, thinking about. And that should inform, the way we talk about it in town. We're also thinking a lot about how we notify abutters to the existing 5 properties that we've identified. And that's going to involve you know, being pretty smart about how we talk about, you know, why did we identify them in the first place? Like, why did we start with these 5 properties? And so we have an abutter list. Sue is able to capture all of the abutters from the assessor's office. And we're thinking about how and when to reach out to them. So one idea was to invite them to an upcoming planning board meeting where we would have the MBTA Communities Act on the agenda and basically let them know that we know they're out there and we want to make sure that they're aware of this work that's ongoing. Maybe simply say, you know, we have this whole MBTA page, you can find it, use this to stay abreast and add your voice. Here's what you can expect in the process. And I think that's a totally reasonable thing to do. Not necessarily give them a whole presentation about the MBTA Communities Act, but just make sure they're aware of it. So that's one idea. Another idea is to come up with sort of a monthly information session. So Jasmine, as the planning director, can host a planning department information session or whatever we want to call it. And it doesn't have to be an official planning board meeting. And we can use that to welcome people's attendance from anywhere in town. So we know the COA is happening on the 26th. And we were just brainstorming, like, maybe we should try to do something like that again in March and use that as sort of something we can promote not only to abutters, but to lots of different people as our next listening session. So we have end of February, end of March. And if we can squeak it in April, I know how busy, I mean, obviously it's so busy and we could all have a full-time job being on the planning board. But maybe this is a way to go about it. And I just kind of wanted to get your temperature on this. I'm very anxious about the abutters and the owners because, you know, if you got a notification like this, you might rightly be like, what? And I'm just not sure the best way to do it. And so I was hoping to get your opinions. Anybody have any thoughts?
So you're thinking either bring them to a planning board meeting and have it there, or have their own separate meeting where we're just.
Yeah, I don't know that we should really have a separate meeting for abutters. And here's why, because I'm just worried, like, we're also going to be putting a survey out in the beginning of March where we're going to ask residents to say, is there anywhere else we haven't talked about? Like, what do you think of these 5 locations? And are there any other locations we should be talking about? And I want to be inclusive, but not so like bending over backwards that if we then get another spot, we have to do it for a whole nother group. Like, I just want to basically say, here's how you can get involved in this conversation. And we really want your involvement and making sure that nobody's caught off guard.
I'm so sorry, Val. I think, were you asking if we're having this at a normal planning board hearing or if we're having an additional hearing, meeting, open session?
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
I'm
that's
asking.
what she's asking. Did you want to do this? Do you want to do this at a regularly scheduled planning board meeting where we might potentially have applications before us and meeting minutes, or do you have the capacity to schedule what I would call an informal information session? We don't necessarily have to have a quorum per se.
Well,
for
let's
that.
be about that, because when I spoke with you about it a few weeks ago, my understanding, and I might be totally wrong on this, was that it would not be a planning board meeting. It would be a planning department information session, and that's totally different and not subject to the legal requirements of an open meeting format.
As long as we don't have a quorum, yes.
Okay.
We can't have a planning
So we
board
would just
quorum.
actively not have a quorum if we decided to go the listening, like the COA meeting. What if everybody showed up at the COA meeting? Because it's not our meeting, it wouldn't count.
Yes, we're just in attendance there, but you would have to be very careful about what people overheard you talking about.
Okay, so one thought would be if you guys think that we can keep it tight at our 24th, our February 24th meeting, we could send in a abutter notice that basically says, you're being notified that you have a property that either is inside of or abuts a proposed overlay district. Come to the planning board meeting on February 24th to learn a little bit more. And then all we do at the planning board meeting is say, thanks for coming to the planning board meeting. We really want you to know that we have this MBTA page and that we have events coming down the pike. As opposed to making a presentation, which I don't feel ready to give because we won't even have gone to the COA yet. and taking the time to answer inevitably the questions that arise. I just feel a little
And
concerned.
that meeting is, Nina's coming to do the site plan review with the board and it's, yeah.
We don't necessarily, nobody needs to be on the planning board meeting till 11 o'clock at night getting ornery about it. So I would really like to push it. But I'm not sure. I still think we should have a way to notify people that this is all going down sooner rather than later. Like, I don't think we should wait till mid or early March to get an abutter notification out. But the question would be, what does it say?
So my concern is that we're getting out an abutter notification before we've taken a first step to educate people on what it is that we're
Right.
notifying them about.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Nor do we have the input of the survey,
Right.
Right.
right?
Well, I definitely don't want to do it on the 24th if
Yeah.
I haven't been clear on that. But I
Okay.
still think the abutter notification is confusing because I do think what I really want it to do is say, go to the webpage, go to the webpage and learn more. And we've been trying, we use the Our Town newsletter. We're going to get these little blurbs on the homepage, but we all know it's real. People miss this. And a lot of, we've just seen, owners and abutters or trustees and whatever. So I'm really anxious that we not have angry owner abutters who feel that they have not been given the chance to reflect on their property being in a proposed overlay district, because the survey is going to go out and it's going to show the districts.
So when you say abutters list, you mean owners and abutters list, right?
Yeah, sorry. Mhm.
Okay, yeah,
But
okay.
what would it feel like to you if you got a survey from the town of Dover that showed a proposed overlay district on your property and you didn't know about that?
Right. Right. I know it's the chicken and the egg, right?
But I think we also need to be careful using that word proposed. And like Carol said, use identified. It's not set in stone. We've identified these as possibilities. Let's try to make this, I know it's really minutiae, but make it as less scary as possible for all of the residents.
I like that word, identified.
Yeah. Because it's really a draft. There's nothing
Oh, yeah.
really set, right? So
Right.
that's what I think that's what really needs to be emphasized is, the locations that have been identified is a first draft and an initial review. And then, and once, and then, maybe even outline the steps, briefly saying, we are going to send out a survey. It is
Yeah.
possible that these locations might change.
So
By the way,
why don't we just do 2 notices? Why don't we do 1 notice ASAP, right? We have the abutters list right now, so I could draft up a notice and get it to you, Jody and Carol, that says the town of Dover is going to be holding a public information session on whatever date we choose in March. And we will be sending you letters to attend that meeting, and that will be the letter that we already have drafted. But in this letter, we'll say, in the meantime, please visit this website, these links, to come up with questions. We will be generating a survey, and please contact the office. So we can send that directly to homeowners and abutters to let them know the information is coming out. We're sending out a questionnaire, and we're going to send you another notice about a public information session that you can come ask your questions at and discuss this with us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm comfortable with that. I know people are not going to be happy.
And just say, we're also having this at the COA if you're available, and whatnot, but give people the opportunity to attend. I just don't want to tell them to attend the COA as the first session because it's the middle of the day.
No.
To me, that would feel so sneaky,
Yeah, I
so
totally
just to
agree
say,
with you.
we have this
I also
information,
think-
it's out here.
I just think that for example, the people over in Tisdale, they're just not going to understand this, and they might be right, so I really want to have our ducks in a row on how we
Yeah.
talk.
Because I think when you send out, the issue is either way, whether you just do a public hearing and not send out an abutters notice, then once you identify those locations, in a very public way, people's alarm bells are going to go off.
And by the way, they're up. They're
Yeah.
up on the website. You know,
Yeah.
it's like we're
Right,
hiding.
but I don't think
Hmm.
many people have really looked at it.
Totally agree.
So this public hearing is gonna definitely bring a lot of eyeballs to it. But if you send out an abutters notice, same thing. It's gonna send up like huge alarm bells and people are gonna immediately start talking and putting things on like next door and you know how things get a little carried away. So I'm trying to figure out what the
Totally.
best way is to kind of,
Exactly. Thank you.
yeah,
I also feel like maybe we need to find a date when Nina's available. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be paranoid, but I'm a little paranoid because I feel
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah, no, rightfully so.
yeah. I think it makes sense to either have the MBTA consultant available to help.
That's him. Yeah, we have him. He's free the last week of March, most of the nights, not all of them.
Okay,
So we could have him, but I just don't. I'm a little concerned because he's not a face that's known to Dover. And I think he'll speak about it really well, and he definitely should be there, especially to talk about the compliance model. Town
Will he be at the town meeting?
No,
meeting,
Well,
no. Because we're not going to be talking about it at town meeting, you know, like this year in May, because we're doing, you know, this, it won't come to us until it's special town meeting in September. So
so Kate, just on that, non-residents are not allowed to speak at town meeting unless the town moderator takes it to a vote and says, does the audience here for town meeting authorize so-and-so who's not a town resident to speak?
is that
So-
other than Nina? Because Nina can speak or no?
Not at town meeting, she can answer legal questions.
Okay.
So a little bit different because she's
More
there.
about process too. Yeah.
Has-
Okay.
was it, and I apologize for not knowing this, was it the consultant who identified these locations?
No,
We did it
We-
ourselves?
no, we did it. And we were,
Okay.
you know, we've tried to think a little bit about how we describe
Yeah.
the framework we use to identify those locations. And, you know, it's fairly obvious. If you just look at it, that's the
Yeah.
problem. Like the reason we did it was we were looking for places that were already developed because
Yeah.
we were kind of looking for a back door. But
Right, right.
but that was the logic for the first 5. We outlined it as there were four criteria. 1 was an area with pre-existing development. 2 would be an undeveloped property where density would not disturb residential neighborhood. And that was like how we thought about the Junction Street property. Number 3 would be proximity to town services. And number 4, unlikely to be buildable at this time due to infrastructure requirements, meaning water and septic. And then the state has some other criteria, you know, just in terms of, but they weren't super relevant, but we could lay those out too. But that's really how we thought about it. And that goes back, you know, a year and a half. And so that's the logic for having a survey, because we want to get past that framework. Like maybe there's somebody out there who's going to say, hey, my property would be amazing and I want it because it gives me an option when I go to sell. We don't have all the answers either. So I'm just very anxious that this is going to blow up and people are going to be like, you're just trying to put it on the 40B spots. Like that's, you always throw everybody on top, everything. And it's there's, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, reality is reality, right? Like, I just, it's not going to be an easy conversation, but I think we're just going to have to like take it head on. So, I mean, I just don't want, if for people who get abutters notices, I just don't want them to feel like it's set in stone. So I think
Right.
you want to make sure that you really emphasize this is an initial conversation or subject to
none of the-
change.
Nothing here is set in stone. This is for conversational purposes, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Well, maybe even lay out in the memo the criteria that you just mentioned,
Yeah,
right? And then it becomes obvious why they were chosen, you know?
Mhm.
And they were chosen without public input because at the time we had free consulting services and we wanted to use it.
Right,
Right.
we were just trying to get it, and that is,
Or-
by the way, true. We
Right,
were
yeah.
Or maybe,
sense.
yeah, or maybe you really emphasize the fact that it's a zoning requirement, not a construction requirement, right? So that I would keep
I mean, we have to do
emphasizing that piece,
that.
right?
A
Yeah.
state
Because I-
mandated
Yeah.
zoning compliance for which we
And
have
we say
no,
that, like,
no
all of our presentations are like, this does not require anything to be built. And by the way,
Right.
it can't be built because of septic and water. Like, there's so many guardrails on this, but
But the
Um,
problem is that there's no way to do all that education in that
In a
first
memo.
notice.
exactly,
That's the problem, right?
exactly.
That's the
And
problem.
that's why it would be better if we could do like an email notification, because then you could just click people right to a web page where you say, here are the 5 most important things to know. But I'm really concerned about putting it out. I'm also even just concerned because, just like, it's so easy to be misconstrued about this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but in your letter, you could still direct them to the town website,
Oh,
right?
definitely. To our
Yeah,
MBT.
so, right, so they can still get a lot of really good, useful information.
Jasmine,
Without,
it's true. And Jasmine, it might be worth just you and I looking at our MBTA page. Just what was the word you just said, Jasmine? Not proposed, but
Identified.
identified. I think we should make sure we strip proposed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, to say that it's been identified, but there's
Identified.
nothing.
I would also give a link to the state MBTA Communities Act page because they actually have done a very good job of explaining it as well.
Okay.
We've taken a lot of their material, but there's more stuff on there as well.
Yeah, so, a couple sites you could visit are the Dover, website, the state
Or-
website.
So a
Uh,
question is, are we comfortable not using time on February 24th for this?
Yes.
Starting with the COA on February 26th, and then looking at the end of March and finding a date that Nina can attend, as well as Jeff, our consultant, for a planning department
Planning board informational session.
informational session with no quorum on Zoom. We'll just pick who skips. And then we're available to give a little quick overview in the form of slides, which we will have refined based on what we learned from the COA, and answer questions. We good with that?
Yep.
So could we, if we want, Jasmine, maybe the answer is to coordinate Nina and Jeff's schedules. And we saw from Jeff's email tonight that he is free on March, he said March 24th, 25th, 26th, or 31st. So that gives us 4 dates. The 24th is a planning board meeting, so I think we should skip that one. But we could do the 25th, the 26th, or the 31st. Is the 31st Memorial Day weekend? No.
No.
No, that's May.
Oh, Jesus, no.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't-
no, but I'm looking at the town calendar and Tuesday, the 25th, currently there's nothing on the town calendar, official meetings and that kind of stuff. So Tuesday, the 25th would work well. Same with Thursday, the 27th.
Okay, great. So let's stick with those two, 25th or
20
27th.
26th is the Conservation Commission meeting, but regardless, I'm sure they'd be interested too. So the 25th to the 27th would probably work well.
All right. So Jasmine, how about if I'll respond to Jeff and ask him to hold those 2 dates just to give us like 24, 48 hours. Can you reach out to Nina and see if one of those 2 dates works for her?
Yep, absolutely.
25th or 27th?
So we get a survey out sometime in early March,
Hmm.
right? And we hope to get the results back in time for the March 25th or 27th
Mhm.
meeting, right?
Mhm.
Which gives us input and questions.
Yep.
Depending on how the format's done. The notice to owners and abutters goes out at about the same time as the survey or right before the survey?
I think before, because I think it would be weird for them to
Yeah.
get the survey. So notice to owners and abutters, let's say last week of February. How's that?
I'm just gonna throw this out for a second. I haven't thought about it at all. Do we really need to, in the survey, show the plots that have been, the lots that have been identified?
Hmm.
Well, it would be difficult for us to collect some of the data on it, especially if we're asking people if there are other areas they would like to consider, or what their questions might be, because their questions are probably more how it's going to impact them, one, financially, which we can't answer because it's just zoning, we're not proposing it will be built, and then two, financially, how it will impact their property in location to it. So I feel like
But that will come with time. I'm just saying, let's step back first. I mean, maybe again, I haven't thought this through, but this is the first chance we have, right? We've identified some stuff. Let's assume for a moment that most folks couldn't spend 3 minutes explaining MBTA Communities Act to anybody, right? So we send out a survey, and instead of saying, are there other properties, we just say, are there properties in Dover that you think would be applicable?
I think we should word it if you're interested in having your property for consideration. Because you don't really want somebody else offering up,
Yeah,
you know,
I was
Joe
thinking
Schmo's
that same
property
thing,
just
Jasmine.
because they're not friends. And they also, we can't do open space or conservation restricted. So
right.
maybe we word it specifically if you're interested in how this could impact your property, or you would like to have discussions or more information on how this could benefit your property.
Well, then what's the survey about? If we don't ask them to respond to these identified locations, what are we asking them their opinion on? Like, do we want to do anything? Because that's not really what we're asking. What's the
Weren't-
purpose of?
Weren't some of the questions on Sherburne having to do with style and design and apartment building versus townhouses? Or am I thinking about a different survey that I saw?
I think
I
a
mean,
different
you really-
survey because we
Different
can't
survey,
regulate that.
okay.
Yeah. And plus, like, wow,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we just want to get a zoning bylaw passed. We don't want to
Right.
get too deep into, like, especially since we have a feeling that none of this is buildable anyway, at least in the near term, given infrastructure
Right.
requirements. This
Well, not
also,
only that, I mean, you take any of the 40Bs that we've identified. I mean, I don't know, let's just say Dover Farms. I don't know how many houses there are in Dover Farms. It's probably like, let's say 30. It would mean that all 30 owners would all have to agree to sell to a developer at the same time. Or within a period
well,
of time.
that's a really good question, though. Somebody
Right?
will ask that question, and we actually talked about this in our bylaw wording. Like, could a developer come in and do less than the overlay district? Do you see what I mean? Remember we
Right.
talked about that?
Yes, because of the density of the average of the,
Exactly. And
Right.
if the answer to that question is yes, then it's problematic.
then it's problematic. Yep. Do we have an answer to that yet?
No.
Wait,
Do we have that,
so
has that
what's-
question been
say
posed
that
to
again,
Nina?
Jody. I don't know that so you're saying if you have like an overlay district on 3 acres and someone just wants to develop 1 acre, is that what you mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's totally possible, isn't it?
That's a problem because then you could live at Dover Farms
Right.
and somebody could buy 4 of your neighbors and put something up. And then it becomes not quite so hard to imagine. I don't know what the.
Oh, wait, do they have a homeowners association?
I don't know.
Because I think that's the difference. If they have a homeowners association, then doesn't the homeowners association have to vote if any portion of that lot?
Maybe, to be honest, you guys, I honestly think this is too big of a job for being alone. Not alone,
Yeah.
because I don't feel alone. Obviously, there's Jasmine, but there are so many tentacles to this thing. And every time we talk about it, we uncover like 3 more what if scenarios. And I think we need to find a way to get a little bit more resources on this, because
Yeah.
like a question like that, and then it's like, oh, do they have a homeowner? Well, I don't know. So now we have to go, like, there are so many questions that come up every time we talk about this project.
And I only bring it up, Jody, because just sitting in on some of the Tisdale land ZBA hearings, even for them to have any alteration to the driveway going into Tisdale land, they have to get a vote by the board for their
So that's
homeowner.
amazing data point. So like, for example, when we talk about identified areas, and we've done 5, right? And of those 5, maybe the other 4, because the Junction Street is one and it's just undeveloped, potentially undevelopable land, we don't know. Maybe the other 4 do have homeowners associations, and so therefore we can address that. But that in and of itself isn't a research project, right? To get to the bottom of that.
I think that's something that Nina should be able to provide us with answers on.
Yeah, it should be a record too. There should be some a document the record if they have an established homeowners association.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean-
we know that county court's a homeowners association.
Yeah. And I also think that, what's the one, why am I blanking?
The
The one
Meadows?
near the Dover Market,
The Meadows.
the Meadows. I'm pretty sure the Meadows is a association as well.
I believe so too.
Because they were
But-
just in front of us for something, for decks in the back of their houses. I'm like 90% sure that they are a homeowners association. So the only one that I'm not sure about is Dover Farms, but my guess is the way it's built, there's must be some sort of an association with it. Yeah, because they have the septic. They have the septic treatment.
Yeah, but we need to, it should be, I mean, Sue can just do a title search and figure that out, right?
Yeah, or just call somebody who lives there. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
So Jasmine, I think this needs to go on our project plan, to think about how we get to the bottom of this question or these many questions.
Yeah.
And then how we're gonna build this information or not into our slides or not, or just have these kind of questions in our hip pocket. I don't know.
Because
Yeah,
I think you're still fine with what you have. I think it adds a layer of challenge to whoever's going to try to develop that one day, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because there's now this permanent homeowners association that owns that land.
The Meadows is a condo association.
Which I think would be the same, right?
Same
I
thing,
have-
different, but they might not have like a right of first refusal if each unit owner wants to sell their property.
Okay.
I think if that's what you're getting at, not all of them have like a right of first refusal to the other contiguous unit owners if they want to sell their unit.
Okay, so the first question that's a really important one is the question having to do with a developer who only wants to develop a portion of an overlay district.
Well, and I guess that has to deal with how these overlay districts were selected. What is the minimum acreage they need to build what they come in to do versus what we've identified? Have we identified our overlay district is 10 acres and they only need 3 to build the multi-tenant units? Or can we shorten that overlay district?
Right.
If Meadows has 2 acres and they only need 1 acre, can we carve out the overlay district so that it's a, for the MBTA Communities Act district is a subsection of the Meadows of Dover Farms, so that they can't do that? That's the real question. So can Jeff answer that? I mean, has Jeff worked on?
He could. Our compliance model, everything's been run through the compliance model, and that what determines our density and how it could be run. So we would just have to rerun something through the compliance model. He did run them as the full site instead of the partial site because we have lower restrictions than other communities being small town adjacent. He said we can get pretty restrictive. So we could rerun those compliance models with a smaller portion of each of those sites and see how that fits.
That makes more sense to me because you got it slim and trim. So
But
that then you even make it even,
but we should be sure that we really want to do that before we ask him to, because we have to be very careful. Money actually is an issue this time. We can't go over contract with him because if we do, we would have had to have put it out to bid. So we really only have this $9,000 for Jeff's work. So we can't keep adding to him to have him change things multiple times. So we need to know if we're having him run compliance models that we have to be sure that's
What
What
is
is it?
what is the deliverable he's producing? A plat, a map,
a
a map,
drawing?
but it's more like they charge, it's just like an attorney, they charge us for their time. So if he works on our project for us for 15 minutes, it's like billable time. So I'm just saying, just be conscientious of how many changes we're asking him for.
Well, remember, we also have use of town council. 'Cause
Yes, but
there
I
is
don't
some,
think she can run the compliance
without a
for that.
budgetary restriction, and there is some overlap between what Jeff can provide and what Anderson and Krieger can provide.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's
Also,
not one
maybe
of them.
it's part of his, maybe it's part of his ask. We would like two versions of this, two separate overlays over the survey. I'm not sure if he's producing a survey, whatever it is, site plan, map, whatever he's producing a PDF of.
We
Or-
haven't asked him to create any additional visuals for us. We've asked him to continue to aid us in drafting the MBTA Communities Act bylaw, to attend public information sessions with us, to complete a survey and to redact that information and give it back out to us.
A
And we may
survey?
have some,
Oh, yeah,
Yep,
the survey
so-
that people are going to answer, not an actual survey of land, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes, no land survey, just a public information survey. And then he has some hours broken out within his time for the bylaw that he could probably break out to that, but in the scope that was, I think, sent out to everybody. There's nothing in this for design.
Okay,
But we can choose, as we, over the next couple of weeks, as we get this better clear, and given what we experienced when we did meet with Nina the other day, we might decide to take the bylaw piece out from Jeff and give it to Nina. And
yeah,
save some.
correct,
hours there,
because
right?
we're pretty close. Like, I'm not even sure that, Jeff is gonna need to spend a ton of time with us on the bylaw.
Or we could just say, you know what, Jeff, we're moving you over to town council.
Yeah, we could definitely do that, but like with this specific issue, this is the first question on that list of questions that I asked. Does the language mean that a developer could come to the overlay district and build a smaller amount of housing? And Jasmine, the answer was that you wrote no. The only way to develop in the overlay district is by meeting the 15 units per acre minimum. This is spelled out in the criteria. And then I commented, I would like to know specifically in the bylaw language where we specify this. I think this question is going to come up, and I still do. And I think this is like very much related to the abutter notice and why it's making me all feel very anxious that we're not ready. And I think we probably need to be a little bit more ready for that, for some of these questions. I'm just not sure.
Yes, but also we don't forget we will have Jeff and Nina there as well. So they will be there. It's kind of like, yes, we should be as ready as we can be, but it's just like having a baby. You're never going to be fully
And
ready.
I know, and also at some point, the butters will have to get their own counsel to advise them on this. We can't give them all advice going forward. We can give them the information. But my other thought is then if we're going to identify the proposed overlay districts, then we ourselves can say, give it the own parameters, from this street to that street. If we're not
Right,
going
and
to
yes,
survey, if we're not going to have a side, we can just say, here's the district.
Yes,
And
Yes.
this is the subsection, and we use words to describe it.
yes.
Right, and you asked that, I think, Katie, when you looked at it, you were kind of getting at, one of the questions we had in the language, something like you can't, if a developer wants to build and it crosses outside of the district, and Nina was like, well, you don't need that, just define the district. And
But
that's the
then
only,
Jeff said we should probably keep that in case somebody sells their individual property within the district later or subdivides it.
I don't get that, yeah.
We
Okay.
had talked about that with Carol and Katie, or just Carol on Thursday.
I guess I was just noticing that Acton, I think it was Acton that provided for sub-districts. And maybe that's what we want. If
Well,
one
you know why
district-
that, I think they have multiple districts, and that might be what you're thinking about.
Oh, yeah, they have multiple districts to meet the whole. whereas
Exactly.
We're just gonna have one district that meets the requirement complete, but
Exactly.
our district will be a sub-district of the overlay district. I guess I just don't know how we have to identify the district.
What are you talking about, a sub-district of the overlay district?
Well, if we consider the Meadows a district, if we consider Dover Farms a district, because that's already zoned, right, in and of itself, it's part of an identified district. Well, we're going to propose that MBTA
Communities Act district be a sub portion of the Meadows.
Well, an overlay, an
Overlay,
Yeah.
not
But
sub.
not overlay corner to corner. It's not gonna
No,
match.
but we
perfectly.
define the overlay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm
Right.
saying. It would be a sub of the existing. So
A
it just
subset,
meets-
a subset of the,
correct,
of
a
the,
subset of the existing district that's already been defined.
Oh, definitely. Well, like defining the district is like for sure. You know, we're gonna be very specific about what that overlay district parameters are. So I'm not super worried about that one, but boy, it bubbles up lots of questions.
guys, I'm sorry, but I've got to be out of here at 4 o'clock in the morning, so.
We'll
Okay.
wrap it up. Jasmine, I guess I think we got a punt on this, a butter notice. I think that,
Okay.
I just gotta think about that a little more. I don't feel like I have resolution tonight, but lots more questions. It's sort of the way it
Okay.
goes. Carol, when are you back? I'm sorry.
I'll be back Sunday night.
Okay.
Late.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm not taking my laptop. I'm on vacation.
Good.
Emergencies only. Who is Jasmine? The problem with webinars, I can't see who's on. Are there still folks on the webinar?
Just Micheline.
Just who I see.
I don't mean just Micheline. Micheline.
Okay, so
The only one.
she I see, but I guess you must have let her in a different way.
No, she's under as an attendee, not as a panelist.
Huh, interesting. Okay. Well, good meeting, lots to think about.
Thanks,
Let's
guys.
discuss longer. We all need to get ourselves up to speed on this and work together on MBTA because it is much too much for Jody and it's much too much for Jasmine. And every time we talk, we get more issues.
Yeah, and like no matter how many times we say, well, it's probably not buildable, like all the things we know to be true don't matter
Yeah.
Right.
if somebody gets up and gets scared at town meeting. And
Right.
that is, it's so obvious to me that that could happen.
Yep.
Just cause.
And I think that there will be some one-on-one conversations with some abutters, right? That you're gonna have people who are gonna have questions that you're gonna just have to be able to talk with them
Yeah. for sure.
individually to kind of calm the concerns.
I would suggest, and maybe you and Jody and Jasmine, maybe you guys are already doing this, but we've got a lot of information. We've got some FAQs. We've got some answers. Somebody might want to just start putting together a sloppy slide deck. Just a slide that says whatever topic it is that we're talking about, so that we don't lose it, and we can just start infilling as we go through these informational sessions.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
guys. We have to close.
Anything else? In that case, I'm going to
Safe
make a motion.
travels. Safe travels.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn at 9:25 p.m. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise their hand and say, phew. Okay.
Have a
Good
great
night,
trip,
everyone.
Carol.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye-bye.